I watched some of the trial today, the Kim Potter trial and the killing of Daunte Wright. I watched some of the trial today. We're going to give an update. And closing arguments were given today. And the jury has started deliberation, and the jury is being sequestered. And one of the things that's interesting here in the closing arguments, well, it happened during the trial also, but especially in the closing arguments, is that the defense is blaming Daunte Wright for his own death. The defense is blaming Daunte Wright for his own death. Now, the prosecution says a colossal screw-up led to Daunte Wright's death, but the defense is blaming Daunte Wright for his own death. They said he should have just gone along with the police officers, but they are absolving, the defense is absolving Kim Potter of any responsibility. Okay, so this, what transpired today in court has been infuriating a lot of people. So we're going to talk some about this today. Then also something else that's been infuriating a lot of people is Senator Joe Manchin going on Fox News on Sunday saying he could not vote for the Build Back Better bill, the $1.75 trillion, actually $2.2 trillion bill. Okay. Now, I knew Joe Manchin was hesitant about the bill in the first place. The bill is not dead. I've seen things like this happen before. The bill is not dead. If you notice, I didn't freak out about it and go crazy and things like this. I understand the process. So we'll talk a little bit about this on today's show. I had some information from yesterday's show, but there've been so many updates. It's been a very busy news day today. Late today, Joe Manchin and Joe Biden spoke, and the bill is not dead. They're going to jump back on this in January. The Senate comes back from recess January 3rd. Okay, the Senate comes back from recess January 3rd. So some of the things, and after some of the smoke is settled down, you have many Democrats looking for a way to go forward and get this bill passed, whether they have to break it up into more than one bill or what have you. Okay. And that's the nature of the game, and as I explained on our show yesterday, a 50-50 Senate, which is a slim majority, a 50-50 Senate is not the same as a 60-40 decisive majority in the Senate. And when you have a 50-50 Senate, then every single vote counts, because you're going to need all 50 votes to actually get this passed through the budget reconciliation process, which requires 51 votes for Vice President Kamala Harris to be the tiebreaker, because no Republicans are going to vote for the bill. Even though it's going to help their constituents, no Republicans are going to vote for the bill. Okay, so we'll talk some about this today, because there was some more information that came out, and Washington Post has a piece that deals with the proposal that Joe Manchin submitted. But also, when it came to the Huffington Post has a piece, and when it came to the child tax credit, Huffington Post is reporting Joe Manchin privately told colleagues parents use child tax credit money on drugs. Okay. And this is why he was against, he's against the child tax credit in his own form. Okay. In the form that it's in. So this is a piece from Huffington Post. And I saw them talk about it on MSNBC today, and NBC News confirmed this allegation. All right. So you're going to see as this continues in December, and you go into they come back from recess and things like this. You're going to see them take another crack at this. And then also the Senate comes back January 3rd. First bill they're going to take up is voting rights. there's been movement on Democratic senators who were against changing the filibuster. As we talked about on our show last Thursday, there's been movement made on that. Senator John Hickenlooper of Colorado came out after a meeting. I think he was in a meeting with the civil rights leaders, Derek Johnson, Reverend Al Sharpton, Mark Morial. That meeting was held last Wednesday. That was a meeting on Wednesday, December 15th. Then there was a meeting that was held on Thursday, December 16th. Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and you had some Democratic senators who were against changing the filibuster. We know Senator Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire came out of that one, and she went on the Rachel Maddow show and said we need to change the filibuster. Okay, so there's movement being made because there's really 8 or 9 Democratic senators that are against changing the filibuster rules, as opposed to just 2. There's really 8 or 9. Now, some of this is, as we talked about here on this show before, because we deal with like really real content, not this gossip and nonsense that's floating around. Some of it is like with really good reason or really good concern. And it's a backstory a lot of people don't know, because as we talked about before, and you can look at this opinion piece here from Washington Post. And when I see political commentary, and some of the people I know, I see them on the Black News Channel, some of them I know were on Roland Martin Unfiltered together as panelists. Democrats in the Senate used the filibuster a number of times during the Trump administration to block harmful bills. And that's something that's not talked about. Okay, if you read this piece here, Democrats have vigorously used the filibuster. It's pathetic they now won't pledge to protect it. Okay, now I'm not saying it's pathetic they won't pledge to protect it. That's Mark Thiessen who said that. I don't agree with everything in his op-ed, but he has some good, accurate information. And one of the things he talks about is that in 2017, when Donald Trump was president and Democrats were in the minority, 61 senators, including 30 Democrats, signed a letter promising to preserve the right of the Senate minority to delay or block legislation dealing with the filibuster rule. He said, but now that Republicans are in the minority, just 2 Democrats, Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Senator Kirsten Sinema of Arizona, are willing to make that same pledge. Okay, we'll deal with all this on the other side of the break. And as we said before, the filibuster needs to go back to a standing talking filibuster like it used to be, because now we're dealing with filibuster abuse. It's too easy to use it. It was never designed to be that easy to use it. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Mental health and well-being have long been a taboo subject in the so-called African-American community. So I enlisted the help of mental health experts, thought leaders, and activists to help kill the ghost of Willie Lynch and heal from post-traumatic slave syndrome.
We experience trauma a lot of times on a subconscious level. So sometimes something happens to us and we know that it's traumatizing, but we don't really recognize the extent of the trauma.
Kwanzaa is coming, and the KwanzaaShop.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs. Order your Kwanzaa set today, which includes a kinara, candles, a mat, a cup, the African American flag, and a basket. Visit the KwanzaaShop.com, the KwanzaaShop.com. They have kinara sets, which include a candle holder, candles, a mat, and a cup. Kwanzaa is December 26th through January the 1st. Add the early bird discount code for 10% off your order placed before November 28th. Visit the KwanzaaShop.com and place your order today. The KwanzaaShop.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs to celebrate this African American Pan-African holiday. The KwanzaaShop.com.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world. Bringing our people together worldwide. Controlling our messages, our stories, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30 plus channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Monday, December 20th, 2021, and we are live. All right. So I didn't realize we had dropped a call right before the break. What I was saying, we're going to go to clip number 1 here in just a second, Shakita. So the article I was referencing, it's from the Washington Post. It's an op-ed article. We've talked about it here before on the show. This is from January 2021, January 26, 2021. And this one is called Democrats Have Vigorously Used the Filibuster. It's pathetic. They won't pledge to protect it. Okay, now I'm not saying it's pathetic, but what you have is filibuster abuse that's taking place. But this is written by Mark Thiason for the Washington Post, January 26, 2021. But to get some background information here, because Democrats used the filibuster to block harmful bills that Republicans were trying to pass during the 4 years of Donald. Used the filibuster a number of times. Either they actually filibuster or the threat of using the filibuster. Okay. When Schumer was minority leader, Senator Chuck Schumer, he vigorously used the filibuster to do just that. Under his leadership, Democrats used the filibuster to block funding for construction of Trump's border wall in 2019. They used it not once, but twice to impede passage of the CARES Act, forcing Republicans to agree to changes, including a $600 weekly federal unemployment supplement. They used it in September and October. They used it in September and October of 20 to stop Republicans from passing further coronavirus relief before the November election. They used it to halt Senator Tim Scott's police reform legislation so Republicans could not claim credit for forging a bipartisan response. Well, that's not why. Some of the stuff in here in this op-ed is good. Some of it is BS. They did use it to stop Senator Tim Scott's police reform legislation because it was weak ass legislation. That's why it was weak. In the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act went much farther. That's why they blocked it. It wasn't because they didn't want a bipartisan bill. It wasn't because they didn't like Senator Tim Scott, even though very few people do. It's because it was a terrible bill. That's why they blocked it. Now, they did use the filibuster to block the bill, but they didn't block it because they didn't want bipartisan support or anything like that. No, it was a terrible bill. That's why they blocked it. They used it to block legislation to force sanctuary cities to cooperate with federal officials, etc. So the bottom line is he may get wrong why they did it, but Democrats have used the filibuster a number of times under the Trump administration to block harmful bills by Republicans. So this is why you have some moderate Democrats, and I totally understand. This is why you have some moderate Democrats who are saying, wait a second, we don't want to just totally get rid of it. Now, there's been movement made on reforming it. And as I said before the break, the first thing that needs to happen is it needs to be restored back to a talking, standing filibuster, because the way it is now, you have filibuster abuse, and people can just call the Senate Majority Leader from their office or the country club and say they want to filibuster a bill. It used to be you had to stand on the Senate floor and you had a talking filibuster and you had to gain support to be able to block a bill. It put the onus on the minority who's trying to block a bill. Now the onus is on the majority who's trying to get the bill passed, and one person can just block it and there's no effort. So you have filibuster abuse that's taking place now. Okay, so we're going to talk about those two stories and maybe we squeeze one in as well. But read this opinion piece here. Do more research. And like I said, 9 times out of 10, a lot of political commentators, I know them and things like this, and nobody is saying this. Okay, I mean, let's be honest now. All right. The Democrats used the filibuster a number of times. I'm not talking about during Jim Crow era. I'm talking about 2017 to 2020 under Trump, but rightfully so. Okay. So read this one here also. All right. Now, we'll go to the first story here dealing with Kim Potter, and then we'll talk about Biden and Manchin, because they talked today. They're going to work this out, build better. So I'm not really worried about that. January 3rd, when the Senate comes back, the first bill they're taking up is the Voting Rights Act. Senator Chuck Schumer said that today. Okay. So we'll follow that as well. All right. Now, what happened in court today with the Kim Potter trial? So the prosecution, so we had closing arguments today. Prosecution did a good job. Prosecutors say Kim Potter's colossal screw up led to Daunte Wright's death. And jurors began deliberation today as well. Now, the defense is blaming Daunte Wright for his own death, which oftentimes is something that happens when African Americans are the ones who are killed and they can't tell their own story. All right. The former 26-year police veteran faced first and second degree manslaughter charges stemming from the fatal shooting April 11th. Let's go to clip one from NBC News. Hold on. Let's go to clip one from NBC News, Shakita.
And told you her sons will be home for the holidays. You know who won't be home for the holidays is Daunte Wright.
In final arguments, prosecutors asking the jury to look at the video of the fatal traffic stop and use common sense, accusing former officer Kimberly Potter of making rash and reckless choices by firing her gun after warning she was about to fire a taser.
She chose to engage. She chose to use force. She chose to escalate. She knew she had both weapons on her duty belt. She knew how to get it right. But she failed to get it right. She failed Daunte Wright.
Potter, age 49, facing manslaughter charges in the same courtroom where a jury convicted former officer Derek Chauvin of murdering George Floyd.
Daunte Wright caused his own death, unfortunately. Those are the cold, hard facts.
Potter's attorney is telling the jury the former officer's use of her gun or a taser was justified because she feared police at the scene could be seriously injured if Wright got back into his car and drove off.
No threat by Daunte Wright. He broke free from a law enforcement officer and took off in his car, even after he was shot. No threat.
I would have preferred had Daunte Wright followed the commands and not tried to flee, sure. Does that absolve her from liability? Does that allow her to shoot him to death? It does not.
The jury deciding the case has 9 white men and women, along with 2 Asian American women and 1 African American woman, and they're sequestered as they try to reach a verdict.
Okay, so the jury's being sequestered. Jury deliberation started today. We'll keep you up to date on what transpires there. So the prosecutor urged jurors on Monday to hold former Minnesota police officer Kim Potter criminally responsible for a colossal screw up, quote, a colossal screw up, a blunder of epic proportions that ended in the fatal shooting of Daunte Wright. Now, Assistant Attorney General Aaron Aldridge said defendant Kim Potter improperly disregarded a series of risks when she drew her service weapon and shot and killed Daunte Wright this year. Okay. Now, Potter said she accidentally pulled a Glock when she was trying to deploy a taser to subdue Wright, who was fleeing from arrest on a misdemeanor weapons warrant. But Assistant Attorney General Aaron Aldridge insisted that Kim Potter should not have even used a taser on Daunte Wright, who was mortally wounded and drove a short distance before he slammed into another car seconds later. She said, quote, it goes to show that she made a series of bad choices that led to her shooting and killing Daunte Wright. It goes to her disregard of all the risks. All right. Now, she went on to say, quote, members of the jury, this was no little oopsies. This was not putting the wrong date on a check. This was not entering the wrong password somewhere. This was a colossal screw up of epic proportions. It was precisely the thing she had been warned about for years, and she was trained to prevent it. It was irreversible and it was fatal, end quote. Now, the defense and Earl Gray, the defense attorney Earl Gray insisted that Kim Potter cannot be criminally punished for a traffic accident, which he compared to a deadly mishap at the hands of a doctor, a pilot, or a lawyer. Now, he said, quote, you've never heard of a doctor being charged with making a mistake, and we know common sense and history tells you they've made many, and many have caused death. Many have caused serious injuries, end quote, he told jurors. Now, Aaron Eldridge, Minnesota Assistant Attorney General, played Kim Potter's body camera video in slow motion for jurors, saying it showed that she most likely saw her weapon before firing it, because we all saw the weapon before she fired it. It was a black gun. Okay. So now I want to go to this part here. So the defense insisted that Daunte Wright, not Kim Potter, was responsible for the fatal interaction. Quote, the state argues Daunte Wright had nothing to do with his death, which is absurd, defense attorney Earl Gray said. Once Daunte Wright tried to flee, the police had no choice but to stop him, the defense said. Quote, that's the cause, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. That's what caused this whole incident. If he would have gone with the officers, go take a ride downtown, and it's over, end quote. That's defense attorney Earl Gray. So you can check this out here. Read this article here, NBCnews.com. Prosecutors say Kim Potter's colossal screw-up led to death of Daunte Wright. Jury begins deliberation. Then also look at the updates from New York Times. New York Times has good updates on this as well. What happened in closing arguments? What happened during closing arguments in the Kim Potter trial? All right, you listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. African Spirit Cards specialize in the design and printing of high-quality African-centered note cards and stationery. African Spirit Cards breeds and rejoices in the African and African-American experiences. They honor our African heritage in all that they do for you by proudly displaying the great motifs and ornamentations of the African world diaspora. They use African images, African proverbs, and many African languages to fully immerse their clients in the wisdom and history of and the connection to Africa. They understand the importance of having images around us that reflect who we are. These images also illustrate where we came from and what we desire to be. They are here to serve you. Follow them on Instagram at African Spirit Cards, that's African with a K. They have a wide selection. Check out their holiday selection at Etsy.com/shop/African Spirit Cards. That's Etsy, ETSY. You can give them a call at 313-995-3579, 313-995-3579. You can email them at janeldesigns@AfricanSpiritCards.com. That's JANAL designs@AfricanSpiritCards.com, and place your order today.
Mental health and well-being have long been a taboo subject in the so-called African American community. So I enlisted the help of mental health experts, thought leaders, and activists to help kill the ghost of Willie Lynch and heal from post-traumatic slave syndrome.
We experience trauma a lot of times on a subconscious level. So sometimes something happens to us and we know that it's traumatizing, but we don't really recognize the extent of the trauma.
It's
History Network show. We deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Unfortunately, many people confuse what racism means. Racism is a power structure. It was laws and policies that put us in this predicament. It's going to be laws and policies that take us out. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the compass of his or her actions, because the mind can't do a piece what it doesn't know.
We have it all on 910 AM Superstation. 910, the Superstation, the oldest radio station in town since 1922.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Monday, December 20th, 2021, and we are live. If you'd like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the TheAHNShow through Cash App, $ the TheAHNShow through Cash App. Also through PayPal, paypal.me/TheAHNShow, paypal.me/TheAHNShow. We're here 6 days a week, so this helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, etc. All right, I want to go to, we're going to go to the next story here. And a lot of people saw the footage from Fox News when Senator Joe Manchin said that he could not support the Build Back Better bill. Now, a lot of people that follow politics suspected something like this was going to happen. But the way that he revealed it, because it was a staffer who called the White House about 30 minutes before he went on Fox News and said it. He didn't talk to Biden directly. I want to go to this next piece. We're going to go to clip 2 here, Shakita. So today, and we didn't get a chance to talk about this on yesterday's show, and things have moved so quickly on this. There have been so many updates today. But Biden and Manchin spoke today, and I want to look at this piece here from NBC News, and there's another piece I want to look at as well. So Biden and Manchin spoke after a heated clash over Build Back Better. Now, you have a lot of people in West Virginia who are upset with Manchin as well, because they're saying how that bill will help people in West Virginia, which is one of the poorest states in the union, by the way. So if we look at this piece here, the call took place just hours after Manchin dealt a devastating blow to the Build Back Better Act, 2 sources said. President Joe Manchin and Senator Joe Biden of West Virginia spoke Sunday night after Manchin dealt a devastating blow to the Build Back Better bill. Two sources familiar with the call said on Monday. The sources said that the call was cordial and that the two kept the door open for further negotiations after Manchin announced earlier in the day that he could not support the roughly $2 trillion legislation passed by the House of Representatives. Now, Biden and Manchin ended their call with an understanding that they would speak again, the sources said. Coming back after January, the Senate reconvenes January 3rd. They'll probably work on this during the holiday break to some extent, but in January, I think they're going to get the bill passed. The call, first reported by Politico, signifies a ray of hope to Democrats that Biden's sweeping social spending and climate change bill is not necessarily dead, even though Manchin has made it clear in public remarks that it will require major changes to have any chance of winning his vote. One of the things that he wants the bill to do is everything in the bill. He wants it to be funded for 10 years, okay, as opposed to funded for 2 or 3 years and then come back and renew it. So you see the full cost of it. Manchin over the past 2 days has insisted that all new programs in the bill continue for a decade and be funded for the full 10 years. The demands are not an easy fix for Democrats, but they suggest that there is a roadmap to win him over. So there has been talk today about how to move forward with this after people reconvened, and you had people going crazy yesterday and things like that. You know that I didn't go crazy yesterday because I've seen this before. So I was like, okay. I didn't go crazy over it. Let's go to clip 1. Let's go to clip 2, Shakita. This is from MSNBC. Clip 2, I sent it to you separately. Okay, we'll get that queued up. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead and play it. All right. Just press play when it's ready. Okay, so facing unanimous GOP opposition. No Republicans support this bill. So these are the real obstructionists. No Republicans support the bill.
You called this a knife to President Biden's Build Back Better Act. And you could argue a knife to the president himself, considering the White House has come out and said basically that Joe Manchin lied to the president's face. What is the reaction on Capitol Hill to the senator?
Shock, anger, feelings of betrayal. There's some regret that they decoupled it from that infrastructure bill that Joe Manchin co-wrote and was deeply invested in, that they believe that surrendered a lot of the leverage Democrats had to ultimately get him to yes. But most importantly, Katie, there's a lot of determination among Democrats to salvage something, anything that they can from this bill, because the stakes are sky high here, not only for President Biden politically, whether history ultimately sees him as a successful president, given how much of his agenda is roped up in this bill, not only for Democrats who want to campaign on this in the 2022 midterm elections. Remember, this bill remains popular with a large majority of the country, even as President Biden's approval rating has tanked to about 40%. But most importantly, the stakes for ordinary people. If, for instance, the child tax credit is not expended, it expires this month. It has cut child poverty by nearly half, as the White House has frequently pointed out this year. That child poverty rate is about to go up again sharply if this bill is not passed and it is not extended. There's also the issue of climate change. The Build Back Better Act that's passed by the House has more than $500 billion of investments in clean energy to combat climate change, the largest ever in U.S. history. Some Democrats have pointed out that the planet is not going to stop melting while Congress tries to figure out its politics and get it together. So that's where Democrats are. They're going to try to keep together what they can of this bill. It's going to require, according to Joe Manchin's own words, making sure everything is paid for on a 10-year basis. It will mean painful sacrifices, but notably, Speaker Pelosi, who has been in this situation before and trying to get, wrangle difficult votes to get a major piece of legislation over the line with the ACA, spoke moments ago in San Francisco, did not have a word of criticism for Joe Manchin, said she believes he cares about the country, and said she remains confident that he will get the yes on some version of this bill. Katie.
Sahil, thank you. Julie, you are in West Virginia. I'm just wondering, any reaction from either the senator himself or people down there to what NBC News is now confirming, that behind the scenes in conversations with other senators about the child tax credit, he was saying that he was worried the money was going to go to drugs and not to kids?
Well, Katie, I've been getting a lot of reaction today from the senator's office, from advocates, and from people on the ground. And I want to start with the advocates who have been texting me nonstop, because remember, West Virginia is one of the states worst hit by the opioid epidemic. So some of them see his comments as completely tone deaf. But for the senator's part, his spokeswoman passed a statement along to NBC News saying Senator Manchin has made clear he supports the child tax credit and believes the money should be targeted to those who need it most. He has also expressed support for a paid leave program that has a dedicated, sustainable funding mechanism. Obviously, that last part, we've heard this in negotiations with Senator Gillibrand, trying to get him to yes. He wants to make sure that people basically deserve to get these programs. And I spoke to a bunch of people on the ground here on both sides of this issue. He's very popular in this state. Obviously, this state has been trending more and more to the right in the last couple of decades. But I want you to take a listen to two people I spoke to today, one on one side of this issue and one on the complete opposite end.
It's inconceivable that at Christmas time, especially, that he would leave 350,000 children in West Virginia and their families without the certainty that they will have enough money to pay the Christmas bills, that they will have enough money to pay their rent.
I can barely put gas in my car now as it is. So, I mean, any other drastic steps that would alter West Virginia at all right now is just, it's kind of scary. I can see why Joe would be skeptical.
So, Katie, you see people have different opinions here on this side of the issue, depending on where their priorities lie. I spoke to mothers here who told me that last child tax credit payment they received on December 15th that made sure their kids got either extra child care during the week or an extra pair of shoes for school. They're scared they're not going to be able to provide their kids with that come the new year. And I also spoke to people like Wes. You heard from him there, who's concerned about inflation, who's working multiple jobs, and who relies on lumber, on gas to make ends meet. And if those prices keep going up, he's saying we don't need any more help like this Build Back Better legislation. We just need to control what's happening here in our state.
John, I know Senator Manchin is from a red state, a state that does not support Joe Biden, and this is a Democratic piece of legislation. He's obviously voiced a lot of concern about it over the course of the past few months. We just reported what our Hill team confirmed on the child tax credit, that he was worried that it would go to drug use. We've also confirmed another piece of an article from the Huffington Post, this one about the paid leave time. Joe Manchin was telling senators, according to our Capitol Hill team, that he was worried that the men in his state would use it to go hunting instead of spending time with their families. I'm wondering, politically speaking, does he risk offending his
pause right there, Shakita. We'll pick this up on the other side of the break.
How little he seems to regard their ability to make smart choices for themselves?
Yeah, that's not the most flattering depiction of the residents of the state that has voted for him a number of times. He also is someone who, his critics are very quick to point out, drives a Maserati, which also doesn't seem to be perhaps in step with a lot of his fellow West Virginians.
All right. We're going to continue this on the other side of the break. Check out the article from Huffington Post. Joe Manchin privately told colleagues parents use child tax credit money on drugs. Now, we know West Virginia has a huge drug problem, opioid addiction problem. We know that. But this is just tone deaf right here. And then also read this one from the Washington Post from today, from December 20th. Manchin's private offer to Biden included pre-K, climate money, Obamacare, but excluded child benefit, the child tax credit. The West Virginia Democrat tried to pare back a tax and spending package, stripping out pieces the White House wanted to keep. Once again, 50-50 Senate, each vote counts, but in the 2022 midterm elections, you can reduce the power of Joe Manchin if Democrats keep 50 seats and pick up like 3, 4, 5 more seats. Okay, then if Manchin defects and votes against the bill, you still have enough to get bills passed and also more ammunition for filibuster reform or greater filibuster reform as well. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Soul in Motion, celebrating 38 years in the arts. This energetic ensemble of dancers and drummers was started by percussionist Michael Friend and is led by choreographer Associate Director Pam Lassiter. Based in the Washington, D.C. area, Soul in Motion is now accepting bookings for Black History Month, Juneteenth, and summer festivals in 2022. Soul in Motion is also available for more intimate events like naming ceremonies and weddings. To find out more or to book your date, call 240-452-1349 or send an email to info@soulinmotion.org. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Soul in Motion, celebrating our history, our culture, our future. Soul in Motion. Theater, African dance, and drumming since 1984.
mental health and well-being have long been a taboo subject in the so-called African American community. So I enlisted the help of mental health experts, thought leaders, and activists to help kill the ghost of Willie Lynch and heal from post-traumatic slave syndrome.
We experience trauma a lot of times on a subconscious level. So sometimes something happens to us and we know that it's traumatizing, but we don't really recognize the extent of the trauma.
We are emotionally constipated and emotionally obese because, again, all the things that we experienced in childhood, we've suffocated and we stored in our bodies.
It's a time to kill and it's a time to heal. We've been haunted by the ghost of Willie Lynch and his doctrine of self-refueling trauma for too long. It's time for Willie to die. Die, Willie.
Stops for the ghost LOXD block. It's time to kill the ghost of Willie Lynch and get out the matrix. Check out my man Ron Life Speaks at diewillie.com.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation Future Radio. Okay, I'll be at the Kwanzaa celebration at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. I'll be there for the 4th, 6th, and 7th day of Kwanzaa. So visit thewright.org for more information. I'll be a vendor there. The Kwanzaa celebrations are taking place 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. basically each day. The African marketplace opens at 4:30, so you can shop in the African marketplace. This year, they are requiring people to register to attend the Kwanzaa event. It's free to register because of COVID-19 protocols. They are requiring you to be able to show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test that was taken within 72 hours. So if you click, if you go to the website, thewright.org, WRIGHT, thewright.org, and scroll down and they have the Kwanzaa information. Click on register here, it takes you to the next page, and they have the information there. Okay. So I'll be there on Wednesday, December 29th, Friday, December 31st, and Saturday, January 1st, 2022. I'll be there New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and Wednesday, December 29th. If you want me to do a presentation for your group organization, if you want me to speak at your Kwanzaa event, either in person or virtually, email me at AHNshow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AHNshow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We can make that happen. Email me today so we can schedule all of that, and we can work out the details. So either in person or virtually. I have a fantastic presentation for Kwanzaa, and I deal with the African origins of Kwanzaa. And I deal with some of the African first fruit harvest celebrations that Kwanzaa is based upon. Okay. And then I also tie the film Black Panther into Kwanzaa as well, and the African influence that's in the film Black Panther. All right. So back to this, back to the topic we were dealing with before the break. And this deals with the conversation, well, it deals with Joe Manchin saying he could not vote for the Build Back Better bill. And deals with the conversation that happened Sunday evening with President Joe Biden and Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia. West Virginia, once again, is one of the poorest states in the nation. Now, also read this piece here from the Washington Post that came out today. Manchin's private offer, and we're going back to the clip here in just a second, Shakita. Manchin's private offer to Biden included pre-K, climate money, Obamacare, but excluded child benefit. The West Virginia Democrat tried to pare back a tax and spending package, stripping out pieces the White House wanted to keep. Let's go back to the clip, Shakita.
But let's be clear, though, he is someone who certainly doesn't feel like he has any political repercussions to suffer back at home. He was elected. He's been elected there several times. This is a state that Trump won, of course, by almost 40 points, certainly he has to be mindful of a Republican challenger. So therefore, there's not going to be a Democrat who beats him there. And he's very fond of saying to his colleagues on the Hill that it's not me, you'd have a Republican. So, you may not agree with me on everything, but because I'm here and casting ballots for most of the Biden and Democrats' agenda, you have things like new judges installed. And Biden, just in the last couple of days, hit a high watermark for judges put into office in his first year. So I think that is part of the calculation here. It's also why a lot of people don't think that there is a real threat that Manchin would change parties, in part because his influence would dramatically be reduced. He'd just be one of 51 then Republicans, and obviously that would give the GOP the chamber, but his own sway would dramatically decline, as opposed to now where he is sort of the linchpin of the Senate. But certainly, Katie, I'll just, as a final note, it can't be overstated just how angry the White House is with Manchin. They recognize it's a dance. They figure it's a negotiation, and they're not saying it's over. They still believe that some form they could get something done, perhaps down the road. But they believe he looked the president in the eye, shook the president's hand, and said, look, we can get there. And we reported today that Biden himself told confidants after they met on Tuesday that, sure, he knew they had work to do, but he believed in early 2022 that Manchin would get to yes. And instead, that's why the White House was so blindsided by the senator's Fox interview on Sunday. And the venue also raised eyebrows because they didn't see it coming at all. And President Biden didn't get a personal heads up from the senator.
Okay, pause it right there. Pause right there. Okay. So that is from MSNBC. That's from Monday, December 20th. That's Katie Tur's show, TUR, on MSNBC. Lawmakers, West Virginians, White House react to Manchin's Build Back Better opposition. So you can watch that at msnbc.com and watch that clip in its entirety because there's more to it. Okay. Very quickly here. Now, if we look at this article here from the Washington Post, about the deal that Manchin prescribed or presented. Manchin's private offer to Biden included pre-K, climate money, Obamacare, but excluded child benefit. Senator Joe Manchin last week made the White House a concrete counter offer for its spending bill, saying he would accept a $1.8 trillion package that included universal pre-kindergarten for 10 years, an expansion of Obamacare, and hundreds of billions of dollars to combat climate change, three people familiar with the matter said. But the West Virginia Democrats' counteroffer excluded an extension of the expanded child tax credit the administration has seen as a cornerstone of President Biden's economic legacy. The people said, an omission difficult for the White House to accept in the high-stakes negotiations. The people spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the closed-door deliberations. Now, Manchin's private proposal to the White House, the details of which have not yet previously been reported, was made just days before a spectacular public collapse in negotiations between the White House and Senator Manchin, marked by bitter and personal recriminations that left the status of the talks unclear. Okay, so read the rest of this here. This is, they're going to get a deal. I'm telling you. Come January, they're going to work out something. They're going to get a deal. If you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, $, the AHN Show through Cash App. This is our official Cash App account, $, the AHN Show, SHOW. When you go to it, it says Michael, shows my picture there. These other ones here are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. You can still register for the online courses I teach on Saturdays and Sundays, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. And then also ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have the information there. We have a special bundle pack. You can register for both classes for only $70. They're regularly $130 each, and you have access to the course even after the course is over with. You can watch from around the world. You can join us in class live, normally Saturdays and Sundays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching for a few more minutes. We're out of time here. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And also, I'll see you at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History for Kwanzaa. Talk to you next time. Peace. Stand by. Stand by. Okay, let me disconnect this call. Okay. All right, how's everybody doing? Okay, we've got Philip. We've got hold on, let me post this here. All right, now African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast also. And email us at TheAHNShow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network as well. Okay. Current promotion, buy 1 month, get 2 months free. And what date is that? Okay. Yeah, current promotion, buy 1 month, get 2 months free. Okay, so we ran out of time on Sunday's show to deal with some of these other topics I want to deal with. So we'll get to that we'll squeeze some of this in on tomorrow. We know that there was a segment from Roland Martin Unfiltered that we did. I could not get to yesterday. We'll deal with that on Tuesday's show also, because we talked about the increase in the push for voting rights, and with Build Back Better. And this happened last week with Build Back Better being pushed aside. There's been an intensification this past week to get voting rights passed. Okay, which is definitely needed. And if we look at this piece here from Bloomberg.com, and okay, I've got to log in because I just registered. I just paid a subscription to Bloomberg, but I need to log in. I got so many logins. I just paid for a subscription to Bloomberg so I could read their articles. It was just somebody else I just paid a subscription to. I can't even remember. It's one of these publications. I can't remember which one. I just signed up for something else. Biden backs voting rights push with economic plan stalled. This was December 15th, Wednesday, December 15th. Okay. And there's a good piece from the Washington Post from Wednesday, December 15th also. Senate Democrats renew focus on voting rights. Senate Democrats renew focus on voting rights as domestic policy bill stalls and filibuster changes are considered. So we'll get to this some more tomorrow, because you have Senate Democrats who have brought on a consultant, and Rachel Maddow did an interview. I think it was Friday on the Rachel Maddow show, December 17th, because we'll play that clip tomorrow. This person is an expert on Senate rules and the filibuster. Who's this? What's the name of that clip? And he's consulting with Senate Democrats on making changes to the filibuster rule. Let me see. What was that? Okay, I have to find it for tomorrow. I had it ready for yesterday's show, but I have to find it again. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. So, as I said on Sunday's show, we have to keep the pressure up. We can't go into a turkey coma because of the holidays. We can't go into a turkey coma because of the holidays. We have to keep the pressure up. Now, Senator Chuck Schumer said today that January 3rd, when the Senate reconvenes, first bill they're taking up is voting rights. Now, as I said yesterday, pressure has to be put on these corporations that came out in July 2021 and backed the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. But now they have laryngitis and amnesia because they're not saying anything. They're quiet. Now, this piece is from July 14th, 2021, NBC News, and all the outlets reported on this. You can go, we talked about it here on this show when it happened. More than 150 companies back update to Voting Rights Act. Major businesses like PepsiCo, Macy's, IKEA, Nestle USA signed on to a letter supporting the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. Now, you had Amazon, Target, okay? The signatories, all U.S. employers, urged Congress to enact the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, okay? The bill would again require jurisdictions with a history of discrimination to get permission from the Department of Justice to make changes to their elections using an updated formula to determine those jurisdictions. Okay, and this is the Voting Rights Act was weakened because of the Supreme Court case of Shelby County versus Holder, 2013, which gutted Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. The letter, hold on. Okay, so the letter made no mention of Republican efforts to tighten voting rules across the country because many of these corporations are financed as Republicans and made donations to Republican campaigns. So pressure has to be put on these corporations. Now, either all 150 of them went out of business since July, or they've withdrawn their support or something. They're silent. So we have to put pressure on these corporations and tell them, look, you tell those Republicans that you finance to vote for the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and stop passing these voter restriction bills, or you're going to withdraw economic support from them, or we're going to withdraw economic support from you, because we're not going to keep financing our own dehumanization. Okay, you either tell these obstructionist Republicans that are blocking voting rights in the House and the Senate and pushing voter restriction bills at the state legislature level based upon the big lie pushed by Donald Trump. You either tell them stop doing that and vote to secure voting rights, or you're going to withdraw economic support from them. If you don't, we're going to withdraw economic support from you. Because when it came to the Indiana transgender bathroom bill of 2015, they took a different approach. They put economic pressure on Indiana, and the state legislature in Indiana changed that bill in about a week's time. Okay, so all right, so we get those two. So we'll have to deal with all that tomorrow. Now, this other story. I'm doing an interview tomorrow on Tuesday, 2:00. So you tune in this because I was working on that today. Many of you are familiar with Queen Thais of the Liberated Minds Black Homeschooling Education Expo. I'm interviewing her on Tuesday, December 21st, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to talk about, there was an article from National Public Radio, NPR.org, and we posted it on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. There was an article dealing with more African-American parents are homeschooling their children, citing the pandemic and racism. More African-American parents are homeschooling their children, citing the pandemic and racism. So it's a big article from NPR. We're going to talk about this tomorrow because she's an expert on homeschooling. She's known as the Queen of Homeschooling, and the Queen of Black Homeschooling. And she's the CEO and founder of the Liberated Minds Black Homeschooling Education Expo. And I've spoken at the expo numerous times. It usually takes place the third weekend in Atlanta each year. So we're doing that on Tuesday, 2 p.m. So we'll be broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube. You can join us for that. There's also a Facebook event invite on my page for that as well. Actually, we'll post so we got the Facebook event invite here. Also, people have been registering for that. this right here. So people have been registering for that. We're going to broadcast on Facebook and YouTube. And we'll talk about the interview on our show Tuesday night. Okay, so let me post this here. So visit our fan page, The African History Network. You can register for the, so you'll get updates on it also. Okay, you'll get updates on it. You can register for the Facebook event. So if you are an African-American parent and you're looking for information or tips on homeschooling your children, even if you do a hybrid, so your children are home because of COVID, or your children are home because there have been threats at the schools that happened after the Oxford, Michigan school shooting, and you've had a number of different threats to schools, things like this. But the bottom line is your child is sitting at the dining room table with headphones on at a laptop being schooled, and you want tips, especially for African American children and content, things like this. You want to tune in to this Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I guess it'll be Queen Thais of the Liberated Minds Black Homeschooling Education Expo. They have an institute as well, and they help parents start these Black homeschooling groups also. All right, now there's a story we'll talk about probably Tuesday or Wednesday. I have to figure it out which day I'm gonna squeeze this in. But and because Friday is Christmas Eve, so Roland Martin Unfiltered would not be live on Friday. So my Friday will be freer because I won't be because we're not doing a live show, so I will not be on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. Maybe I'll get a chance to rest because the radio station will be shut down also, and we won't be on live Sunday night because Christmas holiday. So maybe I'll get a chance to get to bed at a decent hour. So this story here I saw today from the Washington Post. I monitor about 35 different news sources daily. That's why I got to pay for a lot of these subscriptions. Haitian migrants. We'll talk about this Tuesday or Wednesday. I knew this was coming, but a lot of these Simple Simon ass people that were complaining when the Wall Street Journal had the article that the Biden administration, and it was actually the Department of Justice, okay? The Department of Justice was considering settling a class action lawsuit by the ACLU filed on behalf of like 940 people because of, in 2018, migrants at the southern border being mistreated by Border Patrol, which are federal agents, and they filed a class action lawsuit against the federal government because the federal government gets sued every day. I don't know how many people actually like know this and follow this stuff. Federal government gets sued every day. Okay. So people were saying all this slap in the face, all this BS because people don't read. If you read the article, the original article from the Wall Street Journal, and I actually read the entire article, it tells you there were settlements under the Trump administration. This settlements are like $125,000 under the Trump administration for the same thing. People weren't crying then. But with this here, and filing for political asylum is illegal. Even if you came to the country, quote unquote, undocumented, illegally, whatever, filing for political asylum is legal. So those same people that were crying and putting out all these BS YouTube videos because they don't read, I wonder if they're going to say the same thing for this. Haitian migrants file lawsuit protesting treatment by Border Patrol. Images of Border Patrol agents corralling Black migrants prompted criticism of the Biden administration's response to an influx of thousands in Del Rio, Texas. So now I said what happened at the southern border was wrong. I said what happened with the Haitians was wrong. I said filing for political asylum is legal. And I said they had a right to, at the southern border, they had a right to file a lawsuit against the federal government because that's the laws. We don't understand law. They got a right to do that. The Haitians have a right to do that. Now, all the people that were quick to jump on headlines and put that BS out there and say how wrong it was for the migrants at the southern border to file a lawsuit with the federal government, and they shouldn't settle all this nonsense that they put out because they don't read. I wonder if they're going to say the same thing here. Or they don't, or they just see if you notice with me, I'm like consistent. There has to be one standard that everybody follows. I don't say, well, it's okay to do it here, but not over there. It's okay to do it here because of the racial ethnicity of the people here, but it's not okay to do it over here. No, there's one standard, period. This is from December 20th. Because we deal with real topics here. We don't do all this who slept with who and all this superfluous nonsense floating around. The treatment of, so they talk about Marad Joseph, Border Patrol. And we were one of the few outlets that really actually talked about the procedures of Border Patrol, because the Border Patrol union leader spoke out against the White House about the attacks on Border Patrol from the White House behind what happened with the Haitians. And incidentally, also, just so people know, now those are long range. If you actually like read what happened, those are actually long range. Border Patrol is not even equipped with whips. They had long reins for the horses. That's what that was. This is why, if you notice, when certain stories break, I don't just jump on them and start doing videos. I'm like doing research to like actually, because I understand you're going to have updates to these stories as more clarifications come out. That's why I'm not a headline jumper. So the treatment of Mr. Joseph, an undocumented immigrant who was seeking asylum, political asylum, which is legal. See, you can be an undocumented immigrant and still seek political asylum. That's legal to do. And other Haitian migrants by agents in September is the subject of a federal investigation after President Joe Biden described it as outrageous and promised that there will be consequences. The union representing the Border Patrol agents defended them, saying they were merely doing their job as thousands of migrants crossed into the small border town, because the border where they were across that river, that wasn't a legal border crossing. The actual border had been shut down some days before that. But even coming through an illegal border crossing, it's still legal to file for political asylum. It's still legal to file for political asylum. So that border crossing that they were coming through across the little stream or whatever, that was an illegal border crossing. But they shouldn't be mistreated, and it's still legal to file for political asylum, even if you're coming through an illegal border crossing. So the migrant side of the story was laid out for the first time on Monday, December 20th. Hopefully the people you watch on social media have been explaining this to you. In a lawsuit against the federal government filed in U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. But Mr. Joseph's telling the agent in a widely published photograph let go of him when the horse appeared close to trampling him. See, this is why you got to do more research behind just a picture, because the photographer who actually took the picture was interviewed, and we talked about it here on the show. He said he didn't see any of the he was filming it. He said he didn't see any of the border agents actually hit any of the migrants, and he's the one taking the picture and filming what went viral. That's what he said, and he was there. I wasn't there. He was there. He was on the Mexican side of the border taking the pictures. Quote, "It was the most humiliating experience of my life. he said in the lawsuit, which recounts his experience and those of 10 other Haitians in Del Rio, Texas, and during their expulsions. The complaint accuses the government of physical and verbal abuse, inhumane treatment, and denial of due process under a public health rule that gives border officials authority to expel most people who cross into the United States illegally during the coronavirus pandemic, because they were coming in illegally. Now, even though they were coming in illegally, they can still file for international political asylum. Doesn't mean they should be mistreated. So this is why at the southern border, when in 2018 under Trump, those migrants that were mistreated by Border Patrol, which are federal agents, they had a right to sue the federal government, and they did. And these migrants have a right to sue the federal government also. Okay, so all the people that are talking that nonsense, when the story broke from Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal, Fox News owned by the same person, Rupert Murdoch. Okay, and it was interesting that the story broke in the Wall Street Journal, and it was really like attacking the Biden administration. Buried in the article, because I read the entire article once again from the Journal, buried in that article from the Journal, it said that settlements were paid out under the Trump administration under the same circumstances. Okay, migrants coming here undocumented, mistreated by Border Patrol, suing the Trump administration, and settlements were paid. Interesting how nobody called that reparations. So once again, we need to have one standard. All the same people putting out videos and all this BS a few months ago, wonder if they're going to do the same thing here. So read this article here from the Washington Post. This is a story we're following. All right. Look, we have to get out of here. African-American business owners, post name your business here on the thread of the broadcast. Which business owners? What black business owners do we have here watching now? Post name your business here. Because I said post name your business and nobody did it. So we don't have any black business owners. Right now, but post name your business here. Email us at TheAHNShow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. All right, right now it's correct wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
Soul in Motion, celebrating 38 years in the arts. This energetic ensemble of dancers and drummers was started by percussionist Michael Friend and is led by choreographer Associate Director Pam Lassiter. Based in the Washington, D.C. area, Soul in Motion is now accepting bookings for Black History Month, Juneteenth, and summer festivals in 2022. Soul in Motion is also available for more intimate events like naming ceremonies and weddings. To find out more or to book your date, call 240-452-1349 or send an email to info@soulinmotion.org. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Soul in Motion, celebrating our history, our culture, our future. Soul in Motion. Theater, African dance, and drumming since 1984.
African Spirit Cards specialize in the design and printing of high-quality African-centered note cards and stationery. African Spirit Cards breeds and rejoices in the African and African American experiences. They honor our African heritage in all that they do for you by proudly displaying the great motifs and ornamentations of the African world diaspora. They use African images, African proverbs, and many African languages to fully immerse their clients in the wisdom and history of and the connection to Africa. They understand the importance of having images around us that reflect who we are. These images also illustrate where we came from and what we desire to be. They are here to serve you. Follow them on Instagram at African Spirit Cards, that's African with a K. They have a wide selection. Check out their holiday selection at etsy.com/shop/African Spirit Cards. That's Etsy, ETSY. You can give them a call at 313-995-3579, 313-995-3579. You can email them at janeldesigns@africanspiritcards.com. That's JANAL designs@africanspiritcards.com and place your order today. Kwanzaa is coming and the TheAHNShow.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs. Order your Kwanzaa set today, which includes a kinara, candles, a mat, a cup, the African American flag, and a basket. Visit TheAHNShow.com, TheAHNShow.com. They have kinara sets, which include a candle holder, candles, a mat, and a cup. Kwanzaa is December 26th through January the 1st. Add the early bird discount code for 10% off your order placed before November 28th. Visit TheAHNShow.com and place your order today. TheAHNShow.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs to celebrate this African American Pan-African holiday. TheAHNShow.com.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world. Bringing our people together worldwide. Controlling our messages, our stories, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30+ channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
All right, we have to get out of here. Now, also, dealing with the story, dealing with the Haitian migrants. As I said back when the story broke that in the article from the Wall Street Journal, only the ACLU, representatives of the ACLU and attorneys from the ACLU were actually interviewed. So the information we were getting was coming from the ACLU. But the class action lawsuit that was filed on behalf of migrants at the southern border who were mistreated and child separation and things like this under the Trump administration by federal agents, Border Patrol agents. I said that African Americans, we need to look at filing a class action lawsuit against the federal government for redlining. Because there were two redlining lawsuits settled by the Department of Justice this year. And there was one in October. There was a press conference that Attorney General Merrick Garland had, and I think it was October of this year, that talked about a settlement that they just made for a lawsuit. Redlining still exists, and this deals with redlining in banking. There was, let me see, which one was that? So I said that we should file a class action lawsuit for redlining because it's still taking place. Not something that happened, not something that happened 156 years ago, but what's going on right now. Was this I think this was the Justice Department cross government effort to investigate, and part of this is, there was a settlement. There was I have to find the article. We'll probably talk about this tomorrow. to settlement. Oh yeah, this one right here. So we look at this one. This wasn't the actual article I was looking for, but it's dealing with the same subject. October 22nd. I was right. It was October. This is from CBS News. Justice Department to investigate digital redlining in lending. Justice Department under Merrick Garland, Attorney General, to investigate digital redlining in lending. This is October 22nd, 2021. The Justice Department announced Friday a cross-government effort to investigate and prosecute redlining, the practice of banks discriminating against racial minorities or certain neighborhoods. It is the first major expansion of redlining investigations since the Obama administration, because you ain't had it under the Trump administration. Surprise, surprise, surprise. As part of the effort, the Justice Department, as well as the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that Donald Trump weakened and gutted, okay, because people understand the consequences of elections, and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency also announced a new redlining case against Trustmark Bank for its treatment of Black and Hispanic borrowers in Memphis, Tennessee. Who's talking about this? I mean, the people you watch on social media, are they explaining this to you? Are they covering these stories? Despite a half century of laws designed to combat redlining, the racist practice continues across the country, and the long-term effects of redlining are still felt to this day. And the long-term effects of redlining are still felt to this day. This is why there needs to be a class action lawsuit dealing with redlining, not because of something that happened 156 years ago, because chattel slavery ended in 1865 with the ratification of the 13th Amendment, December 6, 1865, when Georgia ratified the 13th Amendment. No, we're talking about something that's taking place right now. Somehow people just keep missing this. I'm still trying to figure this out. If you want to repair the damage of something, focus. One of the things we should do is focus on what's taking place right now, because it's happening now, and there's a focus on it from the Department of Justice. I mean, just common sense would tell me file a class action lawsuit that they just settled to this year, Department of Justice, but for redlining. The racist practice continues across the country, and the long-term effects of redlining are still felt to this day. The average net worth of the Black family is a fraction of a typical white household, and homes found in historically redlined neighborhoods are still worth less than those found in non-redline communities. Okay, because we know that that African-American homes are valued at about $156 billion less than comparable white homes. Okay, and that was the study from the Brookings Institute. And it deals with the segregation tax. We talked about that here on the show also. It deals with the segregation tax. And the average African-American household is valued at $48,000 less than the average white household. The curb.com had that piece, looking at the article, this one right here, curb.com, how a segregation tax is costing American homeowners $156 billion. Okay, so if you want to talk about repairing the damage of something, we really need to focus on redlining, because it's happening right now. How segregation tax is costing Black American homeowners $156 billion. A new Brookings Gallup report finds residential property in majority Black neighborhoods is consistently undervalued. Now, this is the study from November 2018. According to the study called The Devaluation of Assets in Black Neighborhoods, the case for residential property, owner-occupied homes are undervalued by the real estate market across all majority Black neighborhoods and consistently sell or are appraised for lower prices at an average of $48,000 per home. Nationwide, this amounts to $156 billion in cumulative losses what the report dubs a segregation tax. So this is connected to redlining. Oh. All right, now. And, okay. Yeah, so this is connected to redlining as well. And this ties into the racial wealth gap. So the average net worth of a black family is a fraction of a typical white family. And homes found in historically redline neighborhoods are still worth less than homes found in non-redline communities. Researchers at the mortgage giant Freddie Mac found that 12.5% of homes appraised in black communities were valued at less than the original cost of constructing the home. Okay, researchers at the mortgage giant Freddie Mac found that 12.5% of homes appraised in black communities were valued at less than the original cost of constructing the home. That figure compares to 7.4% of homes in white neighborhoods and 9.4% of homes in Latino areas, the analysis found. Now, for many Black and Latino Americans, owning a home is the first step toward building generational wealth. An appraisal gap would likely bar those households from growing equity in their homes, crippling their chances of borrowing against the property or selling it at a greater profit later, okay, and increasing wealth. And this deals with generational wealth as well. Now, Attorney General Merrick Garland said, quote, lending discrimination runs counter to fundamental promises of our economic system. When people are denied credit simply because of their race or national origin, their ability to share in our nation's prosperity is all but eliminated, end quote. Now, Attorney General Merrick Garland said the Justice Department is investigating several redlining cases and expects the agency to open more in the coming months. So then they talk about digital redlining, and the Justice Department and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, okay, and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency reached a settlement against Trustmark National Bank on Friday. This was an announcement made. I watched the press conference live in October 2021. The settlement with Trustmark National Bank that would end allegations that the bank redlined certain neighborhoods in Memphis, Tennessee. Trustmark National Bank, a bank primarily found in the South with $13 billion in assets, will be required to open mortgage offices in redline neighborhoods, as well as contribute $3.85 million toward a fund to create loan subsidies for borrowers in these discriminated neighborhoods. The bank will also pay a $5 million fine to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and a $4 million fine to the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Okay, so read the rest of this piece here. So as I said some months ago, we need to look at filing the class action lawsuit dealing with redlining that the banks are doing, which ties then to the racial wealth gap. File a class action lawsuit dealing with redlining, because it's happening right now. All right, so we have to get out of here for real this time. Right now, it's correct. Wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. African Spirit Cards specialize in the design and printing of high-quality African-centered note cards and stationery. African Spirit Cards breathes and rejoices in the African and African-American experiences. They honor our African heritage in all that they do for you by proudly displaying the great motifs and ornamentations of the African world diaspora. They use African images, African proverbs, and many African languages to fully immerse their clients in the wisdom and history of and the connection to Africa. They understand the importance of having images around us that reflect who we are. These images also illustrate where we came from and what we desire to be. They are here to serve you. Follow them on Instagram at African Spirit Cards, that's African with a K. They have a wide selection. Check out their holiday selection at etsy.com/shop/African Spirit Cards. That's Etsy, ETSY. You can give them a call at 313-995-3579, 313-995-3579. You can email them at janeldesigns@africanspiritcards.com. That's JANAL designs@africanspiritcards.com and place your order today.
Mental health and well-being have long been a taboo subject in the so-called African American community. So I enlisted the help of mental health experts, thought leaders, and activists to help kill the ghost of Willie Lynch and heal from post-traumatic slave syndrome.
We experience trauma a lot of times on a subconscious level. So sometimes something happens to us and we know that it's traumatizing, but we don't really recognize the extent of the trauma.
Soul in Motion, celebrating 38 years in the arts. This energetic ensemble of dancers and drummers was started by percussionist Michael Friend and is led by choreographer Associate Director Pam Lassiter. Based in the Washington, D.C. area, Soul in Motion is now accepting bookings for Black History Month, Juneteenth, and summer festivals in 2022. Soul in Motion is also available for more intimate events like naming ceremonies and weddings. To find out more or to book your date, call 240-452-1349 or send an email to info@soulinmotion.org. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Soul in Motion, celebrating our history, our culture, our future. Soul in Motion. Theater, African dance, and drumming since 1984.
Kwanzaa is coming, and the KwanzaaShop.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs. Order your Kwanzaa set today, which includes a kinara, candles, a mat, a cup, the African American flag, and a basket. Visit the KwanzaaShop.com, the KwanzaaShop.com. They have kinara sets, which include a candle holder, candles, a mat, and a cup. Kwanzaa is December 26th through January the 1st. Add the early bird discount code for 10% off your order placed before November 28th. Visit the KwanzaaShop.com and place your order today. The KwanzaaShop.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs to celebrate this African American Pan-African holiday. The KwanzaaShop.com.
Hi, I'm Joel Wilson, President and CEO of JCW Computer Consulting LLC, a technology implementation firm with over 20 years of satisfying customers. We offer a full spectrum of industry top-tier branded services. We are an authorized partner or reseller for Lenovo, Zoom, T-Mobile, Microsoft 365 and Surface tablets, Google Workspace, Acer, Asus, Samsung, PCmatic security software, and many more. Our online store features laptops, Chromebooks, computers, printers, accessories, and software. Businesses, take advantage of our free 1-hour Zoom tech consultation and know we offer top nationwide high-speed internet service providers, voice over IP, and cellular phone services. Home users, don't miss our current in-stock Chromebook inventory. Please visit us at jcwcc.com or call 215-879-6701.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself